You hear it before you see anything. A shift in the grass at the edge of the firelight, not wind. Wind doesn't pause between steps. Something is circling your camp right now, and it has been circling for longer than you'd like to admit. You don't reach for your spear yet. You wait. Because the thing out there in the dark tonight is not the thing your ancestors feared. It's a wolf. And in a few thousand years, its descendants will be asleep at your feet. That sentence should not make sense. Wolves were apex predators. They hunted the same animals you hunted, and they were better at it. Every instinct built into the human body over hundreds of thousands of years says one rule about a predator circling your fire: kill it before it kills you. So what actually happened between wolves and ancient humans was not supposed to happen at all. And the fact that it did may be the single reason your species is still here to read this sentence. This is not a story about a pet. This is a story about which version of humanity got to exist at all. Every species that later gave itself to ancient humans gave something physical. The goat gave milk, the cow gave labor. What the wolf gave first was survival itself, at the exact moment survival was least guaranteed. And the cost of getting this partnership wrong was not inconvenience. It was extinction. Rewind further. The Ice Age world was not gentle. Cave lions the size of small cars, cave hyenas that could crack bone like it was nothing, wolf packs that could bring down a bison twice their combined weight. Ancient humans, by comparison, were slow, clawless, and half-blind after dark. A campfire kept the worst of it at bay. It did not keep all of it at bay. And somewhere in that landscape, a second group of humans was already living. Bigger, stronger, better adapted to cold. They had 200,000 years of practice surviving Europe before modern humans ever set foot on it. The Neanderthals should have won this. On paper, they had every advantage. They lost. Every single one of them is gone. We are not. And the difference did not start with a better spear or a smarter brain. It started with a predator that made a decision nobody asked it to make. Here's the part that upends the whole story. Ancient humans did not tame wolves. Nobody crept into a den, pulled out a pup, and raised it by hand into obedience. Biologists have actually tested that old idea by hand-raising wolves themselves, and the results were blunt. An adult wolf raised by humans from birth still behaves like a wolf, aggressive, unpredictable, loyal to nothing. Taming was never the mechanism. Something slower and stranger was. Wolves approached us first. Ice Age hunting was brutal on wolf packs. Broken legs during a mammoth chase were often fatal. Kills got stolen by cave lions and rival packs before a wolf pack could even finish eating. A human camp, on the other hand, was sloppy. Marrow cracked out of bones, fat stripped from limbs, the leftover meat just abandoned at the fire's edge. To a starving wolf in an Ice Age winter, that mess was not garbage. It was the most reliable meal on the continent. The aggressive wolves that charged the camp got speared. The ones too nervous to approach got nothing and starved. But the wolves that could sit at the edge of the light, tense but still, calm enough to wait and bold enough to stay, those wolves ate. Generation after generation, that filter ran itself. No training, no plan, just survival doing what survival always does, quietly removing the individuals who couldn't handle proximity to humans and rewarding the ones who could. That alone would be a strange enough story. It is not the twist. The twist is timing. Genetic evidence puts the split between wolves and the earliest dogs somewhere between 20 and 40,000 years ago. That is not a footnote. That means dogs were already becoming something new more than 10,000 years before humans domesticated a single other species, before the goat, before the cow, before farming existed anywhere on Earth. The first domesticated animal in human history was not a food source. It was a predator that decided proximity to us was worth the risk. Let that sit for a second. The relationship that built human civilization did not start with agriculture. It started with a wolf calculating that your leftovers were worth the danger. And once that relationship existed, it stopped being about scraps almost immediately. Picture a mammoth hunt without dogs. A 4-ton animal, thick hide, a temper that can end your life in one motion. A human with a stone-tipped spear has terrible odds alone. Now add wolves. Wolves track scent across frozen ground the way you track a lit road at night, effortlessly, from miles out. They sort a herd in seconds, isolating the old, the injured, the slow. Then they hold the animal in place, circling, snapping, keeping it pinned while the humans close in with spears. Neither species could pull that off alone. Together, it became routine. Archaeological sites across Europe show mammoth kill numbers that don't add up with human weapons of the era, some sites holding remains from 80, 90, over 100 individual mammoths. Shelters built entirely from mammoth bone. That is not luck. That is not raw human skill. That is what happens when a species partners with the best tracking nose on the continent. Here's the part almost nobody talks about. The hunt was only ever half the deal. Sleep, for most of human history, was not rest. It was risk. A sleeping human is a blind, defenseless, unarmed target lying still in the open for 8 straight hours in a landscape full of things that hunt at night specifically because prey is slower and blinder in the dark. Some researchers studying modern hunter-gatherer groups have found that a whole community almost never falls fully asleep at the same time. Someone, somewhere, is always semi-alert, an unplanned rotating night watch built into natural differences in when people tire and wake. It worked. It also meant nobody in that system ever got a full, uninterrupted night of deep sleep. Fragmented sleep for the entire span of the species, generation after generation. Wolves did not need to take turns. A wolf's hearing catches frequencies a human ear simply filters out. Its sense of smell can register an approaching animal long before any sound or movement would ever reach a sleeping human. And wolves already sleep in short, interrupted bouts of their own, meaning partial alertness was running at the edge of camp all night, every night, without anyone sacrificing their own rest to provide it. For the first time in the species' existence, ancient humans could sleep the whole way down, fully unconscious, fully still, for hours. That is not a small upgrade. Deep, uninterrupted sleep is when the brain clears waste, regulates hormones, and repairs the immune system. A group sleeping better, night after night, is a group that wakes up sharper, heals faster, and survives longer. Compounded across a lifetime, across generations, that gap stops being small. There is one more piece of evidence, and it comes from a place you would not expect. A small island off the coast of Sweden, so small it has no native land mammals of its own. Nothing gets there unless something carries it. Archaeologists found wolf remains on that island anyway. Isotope analysis of the bones showed a diet heavy in fish and seal, the exact diet of the humans who lived there. These were not wild wolves passing through by accident. They were smaller than mainland wolves, showing signs of low genetic diversity consistent with a small population living in close contact with people for a long stretch of time. In other words, they were being fed, deliberately, on an island humans had chosen to bring them to. The relationship had not just survived the Ice Age, it had traveled. Now here is the single detail that decides everything. Not the hunting, not the sleep, the choice itself. Neanderthals never did this. Not once. Not anywhere in the archaeological record. 200,000 years in Europe, and there is no evidence they ever formed a working alliance with another species. They faced the Ice Age exactly the way they always had, alone, with fire, tools, and raw physical strength. Modern humans arrived with something that had never existed on the planet before, a cross-species partnership with an apex predator, more food, safer nights, faster recovery, faster reproduction. Multiply that gap across 10,000 years and it stops being an advantage. It becomes the entire outcome. 45,000 years ago, Neanderthals were still spread across Europe. 5,000 years after ancient humans arrived with wolves at their side, the Neanderthals were gone. Every one of them. We were not. It would be tidy to end there. It's not quite the whole picture, because this partnership left something behind that nobody was hunting for. When a dog and a human make eye contact, both of them get a measurable release of oxytocin, the same bonding chemical shared between a parent and an infant. Hand-raised wolves, even ones raised from birth around people, do not produce that response. It had to evolve specifically in dogs, as a biological mechanism built to bind them to us. At burial sites thousands of years old, dogs were found placed beside humans wearing collars, buried with the same care given to the people around them. That is not a species that got used for scraps and then abandoned. That is a companion the survivors could not imagine burying without.